we're going to be talking about 5 marketing automations that every Xero partner should use. And what we're going to be covering today is these 5 different automations. Now, look, automation is a really popular topic for accountants in general. I actually sent an email out about marketing automation this week and got almost double our normal open and click rate. So this is clearly a bit of a hot topic. But what I'm going to be sharing with you today, like I've been doing marketing automation for years now, really, and I'll be sharing my tips and tricks. But I know you're going to listen to my guest, Brad, much closer than me because he's an accountant himself. And not only that, he owns a company that helps accountants with marketing automation. So I'll let Brad tell you a bit more about himself in just a minute, but quickly just wanted to run through our goal for this session and the running order for today. So my goal is pretty simple, really. It's just that I want you to take away one automation that you can use in your firm this week. Just take away one thing from this webinar that you can use, and I want you to be able to implement it this week. So that's my goal. I'm going to come back to that at the end and ask you if we've met it, because most of what I'm going to show you today, and Brad is as well, is fairly easy to set up. This isn't going to be a really technical session. This is all pretty straightforward stuff, I think. So we'll check back at the end and see if we've met that goal. So what are we going to cover? Okay. So we're going to look at onboarding new clients, and we're going to include there a flowchart that Brad uses in his firm. So we're going to give that to you in that section. We're going to talk about selling more to existing clients because they are your best source of new business. We're going to have a look at a trick to get 30% more sales meetings and save time. And well, that's based on something that we did on the Bizink website, and I think you can get a similar result. And the final automation we're going to look at is how you can support your clients with marketing automation, because churn is the enemy of every firm, right? And so these are automations that are going to keep your clients sticky. And we're also going to cover, sorry, I've missed one out, turning your website visitors into clients, right? So, your website doesn't just need to be an online brochure. You can turn it into something that turns the traffic into leads. So we can have a look at that as well. And at the end, we'll leave time for a Q&A. So any questions you've got, you can use the Q&A panel. So we'll maybe do them as we're going along, but possibly we'll just save those up for the end. But please do ask them. We won't forget them if you haven't answered your question during the main part of the session. We will come back to it later on. Okay, so Brad, thanks for being here today. It'd be really great before we get started if you could just tell us a little bit about your Xero journey, because it goes back a fair way, right? And then also about how you've ended up running a marketing firm.
Yeah, sure. So we've been with Xero since day dot. So I started my practice in 2005, and I've been lucky enough to, start at a good time, and Xero started in 2007. So when we started with Xero, they didn't even have a partner program. They used to offer a discount for your second company. So if you get the first company, your second company, you get a discount, and we used to start on those. And then after that, they started to have the partner program. So we've been with Xero since they started, and it's been a great journey. As far as the marketing journey, so I'm a geek. I love my technology and efficiency.
Just lost Brad's sound there a second. We'll check that out in a second, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself before Brad finishes off. So my name is Matt Wilkinson. I'm the founder and CEO of Bizink. And Brad, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, I just had a bit of a glitch.
That's okay.
Not a good day. I have all the glitches possible now.
Yeah.
Being a tech phobe, I have all the technical glitches coming against me. So sorry, I think I interrupted your introduction, but
no, you go ahead.
Markezing back in 2017 with the aim of helping other accountants to use the automation that we use in our practice. So I've been trying so many different systems and processes and came with that formula of all the tech stack and all the automation we can use in our practice. And I started Markezing in 2017. And the point is, everything that we do, everything that we preach, we do as well. So nothing there as the airy fairy, hey, come do this and you save hundreds of hours, or you get rich, or you get hundreds of clients. Everything that we do, everything that I'm asking my client to pay for, I've got it and I'm paying for it. So that proves that we're doing what we preach. And back to you, Matthew.
That's all right. Thank you, Brad. I don't know why I've got Matthew on. This is our new slide deck.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Only my mum calls me
you got
Matthew. So yeah, I normally refer to myself as Matt, but I'm the founder and CEO of Biz Inc, and we help several hundred firms from across the world with marketing. Many of those are Xero partners, and on our platform we do a lot of automation as well. So I'll be sharing with you, best practices, things I've learned over the years, and all that good stuff. Cool. Well, enough about me, and let's get into today's session. So we've got 5 automations to get through, so we'll get cracking with this first one, which is onboarding new clients. And the start of a client relationship, I think, is a great place to start this webinar as well, because I think you'd all agree this how a client relationship begins is going to determine how it's going to continue. And using automation in the onboarding process gives a really slick, consistent experience for all of your new clients. So we're going to launch a quick poll just to get things started off. And I'm interested to know, how does your client onboarding process work? So Anthony, if you wouldn't mind launching that poll for us. I've just put a few options on there. Maybe we should have put another option on there, but I think that will cover most of the options that we see. So you just let us know how your onboarding process works right now. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Now, while you're doing that poll, give you a quick example. I'm setting up another business, and we were setting up a bank account, and I can tell you that the experience of onboarding has been absolutely dreadful. It's taken now 5 weeks to get the account set up, dealing with several people, paper forms, which I hate personally. Sorry, whoever said paper form on there. That's like, I really hate paper forms. And there've been like signatures and going into branches, and we've still not got it fully set up. So for me, that experience of setting that up with that bank has really made me lose faith in them, and they're gonna have to really work hard to get me back on board. So I think it's really important to do the start of a relationship really well. It buys you a lot of goodwill later on. So Auntie, if we could just close that poll off, please, and publish the results. So we can see it's quite a mixed bag of results. The most popular option being a meeting or video conference. Only a small number of people using an online form, still some paper forms in there. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Well, hopefully what we show you is some ways you can automate that process and improve it at the same time. So what we're going to talk about, really, I think it would always start for us with a onboarding form on a website. So it's kind of similar to what I've got on the screen there on the slide, because you've got to gather some data before you start a relationship, and that process can be quite painful, right? Especially in New Zealand and and the UK, where you've got anti-money laundering laws, or AML, where you've got to collect all this stuff about who's the beneficial owner of the business, and they have to prove themselves. So it gets quite messy, and even though that's a government thing, the client still blames you. It's still a pain they feel is something to do with you. So making that as slick as possible, and I think the best way to do that is an online form like this that people can fill in. They can save the form and come back to it, rather than trying to gather all that, scan it in, or post it. They're just old school ways of doing it. So And we do something like, we actually have a product called Onboarding Hub where we handle that. And we've got an example of one of our clients who does it. We're going to just post a link to that in the chat. But yeah, I think starting with an online form is really important. It's just a nice way to do it, and it's all branded to your firm. Now, the client onboarding experience that Brad uses in his firm, he's actually, like you said at the start, he shares this with his clients through Markezing. So would you talk us through this a little bit, Brad? We've got this flowchart and screenshot. It'd be a little hard to see. So what we're going to do is share a link to that in the chat so you can actually download this whole document. But would you just talk us through that a little bit, please, Brad?
Yeah, sure. Just give you a bit of background because obviously we say 5 marketing, and some of you might say, okay, why onboarding become part of the marketing? One of the things that you have to always consider, marketing doesn't stop when they become your client. Marketing is all the way through when they're your client. Just imagine if you see an ad for a restaurant or cafe and you just go there, nobody greets you, nobody asks you what you want, nobody comes, takes your order. And that's a bad marketing because they're not going to come back to you or they're not going to refer any client to you. And as accountant or professional services, giving the main source of business is referral. So if you get one client, you can hatch another 2 eggs and get 2 more clients out of that one leads that you've got. It's very important. So we usually work on a 90-day, the first 90 days. So we say first 90 days that the client stays with you is the most important part of your relationship. If you can kind of sustain that and impress them on that first 90 days, on those dates that you've got, you might get married after that and they might, stay for longer. So that 90 days is very important. And this onboarding process works based on that 90 days. So from the first day that they become a client, so you sign the engagement letter, AML form, making that automated. So as soon as they sign it, your system basically sets up the automation. The reason for automation is not necessarily that the human doesn't have any human interaction. It's more to have a standard process and make sure nobody misses out, because it takes one person to miss one task, one call, or one task that they have to do, create a chart of account, and if they don't do it properly, the whole perception of that service is going to be bad. It's just that one person that done something wrong. So after they sign the proposal, exactly, they receive an email to say, hey, welcome. We usually include a video from a partner or from an account manager that takes care of that account to say, hey, welcome to our practice. We're looking forward to working with you. If you can personalize it more to talk about the business and how you can help them would be great. And then we tell them exactly how they have to deal with us, because it's very important. We think they should know how to deal with us, but if we don't train them, then they become astray and they can't call you in a weekend, they call you after hours, they email you in a funny emails, they email and copy all your staff in one email. So it's, 3 staff receives the same email to do something and you don't know who's going to do what, and creates a havoc, and it's waste your time. So you have to teach them how they have to deal with you. Okay. Here's the account manager. If you have any problem, email support at xyz.co.nz or .com.au or whatever it is. Teach them how they have to deal with you. If you have a problem, this is our hours. You have to set up a meeting using this link. So give them all those information. So you can't blame them. So you set the standard in the beginning. And then after that, it can be, okay, are they Xero client? Are they existing Xero? Are they new to Xero? If they're new to Xero, set up a task for one of your staff that sets up the Xero to set up the Xero. Then send a series of the email, teach them how to use Xero with your practice. Then after that, so you can imagine this is going to go for weeks and weeks. And it's going to be a combination of the tasks, emails, that you have to follow to make sure that the client is happy. And then it goes further to the end of that 90 days. So in the beginning, it might be a daily emails or daily communication, but after the first month, it's going to be a weekly, and then it goes to 2 weekly emails. And at the end of it, you just basically simply ask them, hey, have you been happy with this process? I'm sure if you followed all that process, they would be happy. And can you refer somebody else that you know in your industry that can enjoy the service like this? Because I'm sure they haven't seen it with any other accountant, and they would be so impressed that they're going to refer somebody else to you. And we usually send some customer service survey to them, or net promoter score, depends on what you guys want to use. On the net promoter score, basically it asks directly how likely it is that you guys send us somebody. And if they come between 8 to 10, that's the best time to ask for a referral or a Google review or Facebook review. And if it's less than that, I think your partner or account manager needs to get on the phone, have a chat with them, see what's gone wrong to fix it right there, because that relationship is threatened there. So you have to fix it right there and make sure what has gone wrong. Is there anything on your onboarding that you have to change, or did somebody did something wrong, and sort it out?
Thanks, Brad. So as much as it being a marketing thing, this is really locking in good processes right now. I know people are going to ask, where would you do this automation? So, we can talk generically about that, and then we can talk maybe specifically about certain platforms like HubSpot. So
the automation, there are lots of software automation out there that can do things. As I say, I've tested most of them to see what can I have to do this for me. And the system that we promote and we partner with, we partner with Xero, we're Platinum HubSpot partner. And we use HubSpot for that. So HubSpot is a marketing automation system that basically handles this automation. You send your proposal, as soon as they sign it, the proposal, basically the workflow gets triggered. So the trigger is that signing. So as soon as they sign, they become a customer, they turn to a customer, and then the series of the things will kick in. And it goes through this. So we have this workflow, as you can see on the screen, very similar to this. You can see it in HubSpot, and it goes through. And the beauty of it is it's because you have Xero Practice Management, you have Workflow Max, all those systems are out there, but none of them, they're not that clever to go through branches. So you can't have are they Xero customer, existing Xero customer? Are they new to Xero? Do you have to convert them from Sage or QuickBooks to Xero? Because that process of onboarding would be different. They can't do these sort of logics in the workflow, and they can't set up a dependent task. So how this workflow works, if I have a task to create that Xero file, the next person doesn't get the task till I complete this task. As soon as I complete, okay, I've completed, I created the Xero, that next person might be as well me. It doesn't have to be a different person. But if it is a different person, that person receive a reminder to say, hey, now you have to set up the training session with the client to do it, or send the email to the client to link the bank feeds to Xero, or however you work in your practice. So this is just to give you an idea. It's not set. And I think we created this about a year ago. So our workflow has changed since then. So this is to get your brain started and think about the onboarding, and you can change it however you want.
Cool. Well, we'll have to keep moving just because there is so much to cover today, but thanks for that, Brad. And you've created an ebook on customer journeys that we're going to share in the chat as well. So if anyone wants to go deeper into this subject, we're going to share that ebook in the chat, and you can download that. Plus, we'll be sending an email with the recording and some of these links either later today or tomorrow.
Just one more quick point. If you want to create a flowchart like this, there's a little app called Draw, D-R-A-W, draw.io. You can just do the drawing there for the flowchart.
Oh, cool. Well, another one, if you're, it's not even called G Suite anymore. Google have changed it again to, is it Workplaces or, yeah.
Yeah.
They changed it again this week. Kind of irritating, but never mind. There's Google Drawing, which probably achieves the same thing. And yeah, that's quite good for that stuff. And if you're on Google, that's free. Cool. Okay. Next, automation is about getting more sales meetings. So I guess this is part putting something on your website and then the automation that you can drive off the back of it. And I think it's quite a simple one. I would say it's a bit of a no-brainer that every firm should have this. And we always recommend it when we're talking to firms about their website. And what I'm talking about is adding a meeting booker to your website, just like the one that you can see. This is Brad's one on the right. So Pukekohe is where one of your offices is based. If anyone's wondering what that is, it's a small place just outside of Auckland. But yeah, a meeting booker like this where someone can pick their time when they want to meet, and having a button on your website that can launch that. So, popular ones are Calendly, Acuity, HubSpot has its own one, which you can see here. We added one of those on our website. I think it was in 2016. And that month, we got a 30% uplift in sales demos booked, which is huge, right? 30% in anything in business for doing very little is a massive gain. So that was great. We were making more money. The other thing that I didn't really think about was we reckon it was saving, or still saves us, about 10 minutes of admin time per booking, because you don't get that email tennis of, are you free next Tuesday? No, sorry. And it gets into a real mess, particularly if you're getting a few people involved. So, with HubSpot, you can do multi-person meetings. So it checks everybody's calendar. So basically the way to embed that in your website is any of those tools that Yanti's just posted there. There are other ones as well. They will have a piece of embed code, and you can just drop that on your website. It's really easy. I mean, it looks a bit techy, but a Bazinqui would do it for you, or your web developer would do it for you. So I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. I think it provides a better experience for your clients and your prospects, and there's a bunch of other benefits. So Brad, we chatted about this yesterday. What would you see as some of the key benefits of doing this? And then we'll move on to the automation part.
I think if we just go to the beginning of getting a lead. So if somebody contacts you, say, how I want to use your firm and want to see, you can send them the link. And just imagine the links are different. So you wouldn't have one meeting. As you can see, this is my Pukekohe meeting. We have 2 offices in Auckland. I have a Ellerslie office, and I've got an online one. So this is my plain meeting for a first timer, and I have a specific one for existing client, which I explain later why. But if you have a new client, you want to ask them certain questions and see whether they qualify to become your client as well. So you have some information before they meet you. What is the problem you're having? Do you have an accountant? Why are you leaving your existing accountant? Or he doesn't let me claim this and that. Then that's not a good client, maybe.
Yeah, but when we talk about lead qualification, we often think about qualifying good leads, but there's also qualifying bad leads.
Exactly.
And everyone has those red flags that they know. We have them in our business where, I'm not going to reveal these certain red flags happen, and we're like, right, okay, let's maybe not do a meeting with these guys until we know a little bit more. So I think it's really valuable in avoiding that waste of time too.
Exactly. And the other thing is, as far as automation goes, because when you use the calendar, then you can text them an hour or a day before, or 2 hours before, to make sure that they turn up. Because the most waste of time is just you turn up to a meeting, that's your meeting, and they're not there. If they receive an email or a text a day before, and if they want to cancel tomorrow, there is not much excuse to say, okay, I forgot about it. They're going to probably text you back or email you back, and all of that can be automated, which makes it easy.
Just to stop on that point, Brad, because I think that's a really important one, is you can set email reminders at various intervals before the meeting with the meeting details, right? And if you wanted somebody to say bring ID documents or their accounts, you could reference that, and that can even be done by SMS as well. So like you say, there's no excuse that somebody would come. Well, there is, they still have excuses, but you would hope there's no excuse that someone didn't know about the meeting and didn't know what they should do. So, and that's completely automated, right?
Yeah, and we do that with the existing client. Like we have a cash flow review meeting. So on that cash flow review meeting, we ask them, hey, what has changed? we ask all the information we need. And when the reminder email goes, we send them the series of the homework and tasks before we meet them, because there's, you know, it would be a waste of time for both of you to sit on that meeting. Client doesn't have any idea. They haven't entered the account payable. They haven't entered the account receivable. They haven't reconciled the Xero account. And you want to talk about cash flow. They haven't had any discussion between themselves. What is the projection? Are they going to be open through Christmas or not? Or, you know, anything that they have to discuss. You want to ask them those questions, send them the homework on those tasks before the meeting. So when you go to the meeting, you have a better productive meeting. Also, just going back to HubSpot, when you have the meeting, you can easily see all these interaction with the client. So you can see with this client, I had 22 meetings, or I had 3 meetings, or I had 1 meeting last year. So based on those, you can see which client is attracting more because they had 22 meetings, because they bought a service that they meet you every 2 weeks, or if you haven't met them enough, you know that you haven't met them enough. So you can get those reports to see how many meetings you had with the clients or contacts, and based on that trigger another workflow. So if I haven't met this client for the last 2 months, send me a reminder to contact them and set up a meeting with them, because I need to meet these guys every 2 months.
Yeah, another one that we do, I think we used to do it, is mark people as no-shows. And I reckon every business has got these people who just, you know, tire kickers who hang around and they book a meeting, don't turn up. And, you know, so we'll say to them, if they do it a couple of times, are you going to show up? Because don't, you know, we're all busy, you know, and that can really save time as well. So, yeah, with the automation, I mean, it kind of, some of the obvious stuff it does as well is it automates the calendar invite. So when someone books it, goes in your calendar, goes in their calendar. That's a big time saving, right? You know, it just is nice and smooth. And it will also book the Zoom or video conferencing. It may be, you know, still doing in-person meetings, and we're quite lucky here in New Zealand that we kind of fairly clear of COVID right now. But obviously in lots of countries, we're a lot more locked down, and we're going to be doing Zoom meetings for a lot longer. So it can also automatically book that. So one thing that you mentioned, yes, I know people like to know about these new tools and things that are coming out, Brad, was a note-taking app that works in, am I right in saying it's Zoom and Xero?
It works with Xero.
Okay.
You can take the notes in Zoom, but as far as I know, it's called Noted, I think. Noted.
Yeah, post that in the chat. It's notud.com, which we're running out of domain names, aren't we here? I think we've reached peak domain name.
It's a great little app, and it's very cheap. It's got a free version that would be enough for most of you. So if you kind of used to taking a kind of a paper note, it would work, and it sends those through the contact, and it's a little tool that you can use if you kind of want to keep those written notes as accountant. I think lots of us are still taking it notes, which is good.
Yeah, cool. Well, I can see David's already using that with Xero, so that's cool. Conscious of how much more we've got to get through, and I want to leave some time for Q&A, but just wanted to deal with a couple of objections that we often get when it comes to these meeting bookers. And, you know, we don't build these meeting bookers, they're built by other people. We just highly recommend them. Is that people are scared of opening up their calendar. And so all I would say there is you don't have to open up your whole calendar. You can open up just blocks. You know, you could just say Tuesday and Thursday mornings or something like that. You're available. No one can see your other meetings or anything like that. So it can just be really easy to lock in bits of time that you're available, and then you know not to book other things over those. I think that's the most common objection of.
Well, you can see it on this meeting link that I have. It's quite obvious. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm in this office, and on Tuesday and Thursdays, I'm in the Ellerslie office. So you can set your availability, you can set your time. So those days that I'm in city, because there's traffic in Auckland, my calendar starts at 11 and finishes at 3 because I want to miss the traffic. So you can have that flexibility. And it's good for if you want to create a link for type of services like that cash flow, and you want to say, okay, this cash flow, I want to dedicate my Monday to meet our clients with the cash flow forecasting because I'm fresh in the start of the week. And you just basically open up that one day for that. My calendar is more open for the online meetings because obviously I don't have to travel, I don't have to prepare as much. So you can have those different availability for each type of service or type of meeting that you have.
Cool. You say the days that it's busy for Auckland and for traffic, isn't that every day?
It is every day.
All right, cool. So our third automation is about selling more to existing clients. And I'm just going to ask you a quick question because we're going to be talking about segmenting your list. So I'm going to run a quick poll. Do you segment your marketing list? So if you don't have a marketing list, there's a question, there's an answer on there for it as well. I'm just interested to know who segments their marketing list. It's all anonymous, so don't worry, no one's going to see if you do or you don't. I'll just give you a few seconds to do that. Now, your marketing list, I think, is probably the most important thing you have as a business-to-business marketer is your list of people's contact details and their email addresses and all of that. So looks like there's a third of you that have a marketing list. I would highly recommend that as before you do any automation, start thinking about trying to get a marketing list together, both of clients and prospects as well. We've done some sessions on that in the past, so yeah, we might be able to send those out in the email afterwards, where we talk about how to build a prospect list. So it's good that 24% of you are segmenting your list, and that to me is a really important thing to do, because in marketing, your list, particularly in business to business marketing, is your list is more important than being really creative or clever with your marketing. Because if you have a really good list, say if you have like 10 people who really want something and you've got that thing, you don't have to be clever with what you tell them. You just tell them you've got that thing and they're going to buy it off you. Whereas if you've got a list of 10,000 people and they all want different things, very hard to create messages that are going to resonate with them. So segmenting your list down to small targeted groups is really important, because it's what kind of starts to make automation look real. Me and Brad were talking about this yesterday, was that we've all had those automations where they just really kind of they just look really automated and fake, right? Like a chat bot that's really impersonal. Whereas when you get an automation that it's clearly not a real person you're talking to, but it's really useful because it's targeted to what you want. It doesn't matter whether it's a person or not, it just works. And that's where segmentation comes in. So we're going to talk about some ways you should segment your database and then how to drive automations off those. And I think one of the main ways a lot of people would think about this to start off with would be to segment based on industry. And that's something that you do in your firm, isn't it, Brad?
Yeah, the industry is very important, but I'll go a little more specific than that. That would help a lot, because obviously when you say industry, you can say accountants, but as we know, all the accountants are different. You don't want to have any accountant as your client. Like as a Markezing, we work with accountants. We don't want any, like you doing website for accountant, you don't want any accountants. Not all of accountants are your target market. So we're calling this concept of persona. So the persona would be more specific, exactly who they are. Okay, as accountants, they using Xero, for example. One of the things about this webinar is accountants that they're using Xero because it's called Xero Marketing. So I assume all of you using Xero, whether they like tech, what is the age, where the base, where they hang out, are they playing golf all the time, are they in Facebook, are they in LinkedIn? So all of these information are very, very important. Do you still have my voice?
We've got your voice, but there's big black squares come over you.
I'm not even worried about my other things anymore.
Some would say it's an improvement. No, I'm joking.
So the what I was talking about. So the persona is on the top. Then I think the next level would be industry is a good one. You can talk about turnover. You know, you want to see what turnovers they have, because if they're a startup, they might not need certain things, and if they're established business, they might need different things. Whether they, how many staff they have might be important, whether they're A client or B client or C client. So you can have a sit with your team and have a criteria. A listed client, B listed client, C listed. So A listed are the ones that you want to call them back in, you know, in an hour. C listed client, if you don't call them for a week, that doesn't matter really. They're not the best paying or best customer that you want to have. So you want to do whatever you can to get rid of them as well. So you can do that. And based on all this, you can customize how you communicate with them. As Matt said, just it takes automation to next level. You can personalize that they think that the email that they receive is specifically written for them and nobody else. But most of the newsletters and most of the communication that you receive from any company, not only accountants, it's just, it goes to everybody. For example, for accountant, like we would have hospitality client, we have e-commerce client, we have professional client, we have a property investors. So these is our four kind of core client base that we have. So if I send a change of legislation for minimum wages to a rental property client that it doesn't have any staff, they're going to say, what the hell, why I'm receiving this? This is obviously automated. And the example that Matt has got on the screen, we have this next week, 27th of October, New Zealand time, obviously, for some of you would be 26th of October. This is what we have for our hospitality clients, which is menu engineering to design the menu and all that. So if we didn't have this segment of our clients that is a, and we go this based on the persona. So we have a chef persona, which is a younger chef with the hip, you know, technology savvy chef. Is not going to be your fish and chip shop down the road, because they wouldn't have a much menu. It's not going to apply to them anyway. So we send it to that persona exactly. We know that these guys would be interested to menu engineering. These guys are high-end restaurants and cafes and vineyards that they have restaurant, and they would be interested in this sort of thing. So it makes that better. You can also, sorry, Matt, I'm talking along, but one other thing is just other than marketing, it's for your services as well. So if you have, for those ones in New Zealand, for example, the GST period, which one of them are 2 monthly GST, which one of them are monthly GST, which one of them are 6 monthly, which one of them, you know, doing under the, so you can even automate certain reminders and tasks and things based on the compliances that you have to do with them. Or based on if you have a monthly meeting, you say, okay, this client is a monthly meeting. Every month we'll set up a task and send the calendar link automatically, because it knows that you have to meet them every month. So based on the services, you can segment your clients as well and send them separate communication or automation workflow.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I learned that phrase, menu engineering, yesterday, so that's a new one for me. Yeah, I mean, we do it in the Bizing platform, where you can set up different lists and then have emails automatically sent to them, say, when you posted blogs on those topics. So this is one that you might send to a hospitality business. You know, it's involving Venn, the payment POS system. But yeah, other ways we can segment. So yeah, services bought, you know, we kind of talked about that a little bit there, Brad. You know, people who've bought one thing from you in the past might be interested in something else. Another one might be based on the outcome of a meeting or a call that would trigger something. So, you know, so we can have that in the CRM or the marketing software to say, if somebody was interested in this, you tick a box and that just triggers off something that's auto created. So they're kind of things where you'd be actually doing the segmentation manually. You obviously have to tell the software that something is, say, you know, a client is a hospitality client or a restaurant, or when they file their returns. But there are also ways to do segmentation automatically. So you can automate that part and then do automations off the back of that. And, you know, a really good CRM type automation that Brad and I were discussing yesterday was running one on when a client was last contacted. So yeah, if it's less than 60 days and it has to follow up. So we talked about that. And even want to take that a bit further is like asking for referrals. Obviously a thing that you want to get in your business. We talked about that at the start. And I think about 85% of leads to accounting firms come in from referrals. So why not ask for them, right? You can have an automated email going out every, say, quarter or 6 months. And even better, you could customize that down to the industry as well, if you know that. So, asking, restaurant owners tend to know other restaurant owners or bar owners. People tend to have a peer group, and that can make that even more specific as well. So our fourth automation we're going to have a look at is supporting clients, and we're going to have a look at, we're going to have a chat about chat bots, because Brad was one of the first firms that I saw using a chatbot on his website. So why did you add that to your website, Brad?
So chatbot is one of those things. So if you use it properly, it's going to be good and personalized. But if you just use a standard chatbot, everybody knows is a bot. And I think everybody knows is a bot these days. There are so many of them out there. But if you can personalize it and they can get what they want to get, it's very important. And all of you guys are using Xero, so if you go to Xero support, you ask a question, how can I reconcile this? Or how can I do this in Xero Blue? It will come up with the possible answers for you. And then it narrows it down. And at the end say, have you got your answer? And you say yes or no. If say no, then you submit a ticket and it goes to the ticketing. So the reason that Xero does this is because they want to save you time. So if they open up a telephone support, they're going to be bombarded with, hey, this 1 cent out, it doesn't reconcile. How can I reconcile it? So they're going to receive all those calls and they wouldn't be able to provide the price that they're providing now, getting all those calls, and that's going to create a problem with the customer satisfaction, because even though that it's not fair, but that client going to put a bad review because they didn't get back to them for that 1 cent discrepancy in the reconciliation. So it's very important to kind of, as I mentioned in onboarding as well, teach your client how they have to contact you for support, because if they're just going to pick up the phone and call you at any time of the day, it's going to waste that's the worst type of interruption for your staff, because they in the middle of something for another client and they suddenly receive a call which is totally unrelated, and by the time they're going to get back to where they were before, it's going to waste 10-15 minutes. So if you add up these numbers, it's going to be a huge amount of numbers. So for us, we usually ask them, okay, what you want? Hey, I want to know about this and this. Then the second step would be, okay, here are the answers. Have you got the answer? They're saying yes or no. If they yes, great. That we saved a lot of time. If they say no, then we ask them to submit a ticket. So then the ticket goes, we use HubSpot for our ticketing. So, and one of our staff will take care of it. And if we see that a question that is not in our database is a valid question and we're going to get a lot of it, then we add that to our knowledge base. So next time somebody else asks a similar question, they're going to get the answer. So as we grow this database, it's going to learn and it's going to get more clever at the spot. And at the end of it, we'll send them a link to say, okay, if you haven't got the answer, if that somebody is available on chat, so if our staff are not busy, they would be available on chat and they can answer. If nobody is available on chat, then it gives them a link to make an appointment for a call. So it's a 10-minute call slot, and they can just basically book a time and one of our staff will call them back and have a chat with them. So this way, the staff is not interrupted. You can even add it as a service. We had that discussion, Matt, that you can charge them for it. So for the telephone calls, you can charge them on a 10-minute basis and charge them, say, okay, this call is going to cost you, and you can even put the payment on that link that you send to them. Depends who they are. You can, because on a chatbot, you would know exactly whether the existing client, the A-listed client, the C-listed client, the client that the services are included, or is a cheap client that they're not included. So you can kind of, with the automation, you can sense that and send them the right message accordingly. So it goes back to that segmentation. And that saves a lot of time. And people like it. And it's not only because when we talk to accounting firms, they say, oh, I want this only for my clients. But this information these days are not secret. You want that open to the public. So if somebody gets the answer that they can't get from the existing accountant and they Google it and they find out in our support, that's a gold mine for us, because most probably they're going to come to us after that and say, okay, these guys know what they're doing. They provide with the answer straight away. When I was stressed in the middle of the night and I didn't know what the COVID, like we had lots of this through COVID. So can I apply for the wages subsidy of that and that? And the answer is there. But they couldn't do that with the existing accountant because they had to call them and ask them that question, or email them and then they receive a answer tomorrow, if that. So it is very time saving. The other thing is, as far as legislation is very important. So if you have a bigger team, you can make sure that all the contents that is there, it's been approved by you or partner, to make sure that, you know, if somebody asks a staff a question and they answer it, they're gonna basically be a right answer, and it's got all the disclosures and everything that you want there, and also is in the same tone and the same language that you use for your, you know, your practice. It's not like different totally. It's more casual or more formal, or it's a different language, and it would have all the branding and everything that you send to your existing client, it push people back to your website, which creates more traffic and more SEO and everything there as well. So it just, if somebody asks a question, rather than sending the big email, you can send them a link to article, and it teaches them slowly to say, okay, go there, rather than coming and emailing us asking these questions.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I would say, that sense of being a gatekeeper is really important. We use a similar system at BizInc, and it's not that we wouldn't call somebody or have a meeting with them, but that it's better to have a ticket which is in a system. In the end, it's better for everybody, and then people calling and it's really hard to take notes, and, you know, it doesn't get tracked properly. So having that consistent experience where there's the ticket gets raised, and then that can trigger all kinds of automations, like, you know, how long's the ticket been waiting, and all of that stuff. It's just so valuable. So just to finish off, and this isn't really an automation thing, this is just a content and a marketing thing, but Brad, when we first talked back in pre-2013, wasn't it, Brad? He told me that how he got his idea for this first 10 blog posts was he just thought about the 10 questions that clients asked him all the time. And I would really recommend you do this. So think about the 10 questions you get asked all the time, and then create a blog or an article on those, because there's a bunch of benefits in doing that. One of those being, I'll just flick onto this next slide, that if you search for can you claim GST on secondhand goods in New Zealand, GST is a sales tax that's applied to pretty much all goods that you buy. They come top of Google, they're the fabled top of Google. And the bottom listing you can see there, that's the IOD, that's the government's website. So, you know, it's not often we can get one over the tax man, but wise advice is, you know, the authority in New Zealand on
second-hand goods.
On second-hand goods, yeah. That's in your bucket list, wasn't it, Brad?
Yeah.
But you know, that's the power of it, right? And that's been that way for ages. Like we've worked together for like 7 years now, right, Brad? And that's something that you've maintained there, which doesn't mean all the traffic that comes from that is great, but some of it is, and there's other problems that Brad ranks for. So that's pretty cool, you know. And I don't think that none of those other ones are accounting firms.
No.
So that's the
I think,
power of this. It's not automation per se, but it's a real powerful thing.
I think people not searching like Auckland accountants or Pukekohe accountants anymore. People go to Google now to ask a question, and especially now it's moving to Google Home and speaking. Like people, when they want to speak, ask Siri or Google Assistant something, they ask the question, and it's got a question mark at the end. So if you can find those questions that people ask, it drives traffic to your website. And as Matt said, not every person that comes through this blog, it can be a good lead for us, but nevertheless, it creates a traffic. We might catch something there, we might not catch something there, but at the end of the day, it helps us with the Google ranking for the other matters because we get more traffic, it gives us more authority. Google consider us as a site that has got some knowledge to answer the question, and the fact that it comes on the top, that is, I forgot what they call that name of the thing. So it's a special listing that basically gives the answer to the question about certain things, and the feature snippet. That's what it says. So those feature snippet, if you can provide the answer to a specific question, you come up there, and if more people get that, it just comes on the top, which is great.
Cool.
Be proud of it, even though there's second-hand goods.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's really cool. Okay, well, let's get through our last automation, and then we've got some time to, I did a little animation that I didn't even get through. I was proud of myself with that. We'll get through to our last automation, and then we'll have time for a Q&A. So yeah, use that Q&A panel to bring up some questions, and we will go through those at the end. So look, last one is about turning your website visitors into clients, because the sad fact for most accounting websites is that almost all the people who visit your site won't get in touch with you. I mean, some of them will be clients, some of them might be job-seeking people, some of them will be Russian hackers, robots, or something like that.
Accountants?
Yeah, they're accountants trying to steal your stuff. We know about that, hey, Brad. But basically, the conversion rate, I always use this example, the conversion rate on Amazon.com is about 12% to 15%, depending on what you read. So that's massive, by the way. But that means 85% of people, at least, don't buy anything. Now, on an accounting firm's website, even a really good one, it's probably like 1%. That's just the nature of the industry, is that people come to your site, they do research, they don't just pick up the phone and go, hey, I'm going to buy a load of accounting off you. We all know that. So it is what it is. I don't think it's good or bad. It is what it is. But there are plenty of people who visit, they're interested, they're just not ready to engage you. And that's where a lead magnet comes in, is that, by giving away some valuable content, you can get someone's email address in exchange. So just do a quick poll. Do you have a lead magnet on your website? So do you give away something valuable in exchange for someone's email address? Because, the theory behind that, as you're just answering that question, is that something like this one, the need help when writing a winning business plan that you can see here, which is on Brad's site, it's less commitment than getting in touch. People might be interested but not quite ready to jump in. They'll download this, then you've got their details, and then you can kick in some automations, which might be emails, like a series of emails. So this one has a course behind it. Then that can go into your CRM, and then you can start to do some automation on that, or we do it in the BizInc marketing platform as well. And even, Brad, you can do like I call it like a website automation to say, someone visited your site, they got this, they started getting the course, and they revisit your website, and HubSpot can know that, right? And then then basically send out, do something else. Is that right?
So you can see, for example, if they downloaded this piece of content, for example, this course, and then when next time they come back to your website, for example, you can say, if they go onto the pricing page, then set this workflow and send them an email, a series of the emails, say, hey, how you doing? You downloaded the ebook or course, and how can we help? Because obviously, if they're looking at your pricing page, that means they're kind of making decision. If they're looking at support page, it can go and customize another sort of email. You're here to help. Do you have any problem that we can help you with? So that is important. But make sure that when you, I'm going to use my dating analogies, I'm very sorry, but you don't go ask for what's your favorite color on a first date. You just ask for the email. And as you go further, so your second email, maybe if they were interested in business planning, they would be probably interested in a cash flow forecasting tool as well. So you can basically send them an email later on after the first email that they've got, after maybe a week or so. You just say, okay, here's our cash flow forecasting tool. You can download it, but over there you can ask more questions. Hey, what? And you can have a reason for it. Say, because we want to have a more customized cash flow forecasting, maybe you just model the hospitality model would be different from a e-commerce model. It would be different from manufacturing model. So you can say, okay, can you tell us what industry you are? And then we can send you the right cash flow modeling template. So you can do that. So by that, you ask for one piece of information more than before, or you can ask for telephone number. So as it's got better value and you have built a relationship with them, you can ask them for more and put them on that persona that I talked about in the beginning. Then you can put them on that box. And when they are on that box, you can qualify them. Is this a client I want, or is this not a client I want? And one more important thing is, as a client, as an accountant, we think, okay, if somebody downloaded this, they have to become a client. This doesn't happen. Accounting is based on the trust. It takes time. So we have clients that they might have downloaded this 2 years ago, and now they're becoming client because they're frustrated with the existing accountants that it doesn't give them any value. But if you just have that and build that relationship and be kind and add value to them, at some stage, when it's a decision making, when they're pissed enough with the existing accountant, they're going to make the difference and make it change and become your client. So it's not always it's not a product that you sell that, hey, I want to sell this product. Okay, I'll buy now. It's not like that. They have to trust you. And as it's a 7-time rule as well. So they have to see you. And when you follow them around and you send them more details and they trust you more, and it's more than 7 times, then they become more likely to sign up with you.
Cool. Very good. Thank you. Well, that's our final automation. I want to leave time for a couple of questions at the end. I can see we've got a couple already come in. Now, if you want more information about this, our contact details are going to be coming in just a second. But if you would like some help doing this yourself at BizInc, we work with several hundred Xero partners, helping them with websites, marketing, and marketing automation as well. So we'll be putting some links in the chat so you can get in touch with us. But yeah, if you want to just have somebody do this for you, we're there to help out. Okay, cool. Well, let's stick around for the questions now. I'm just gonna pull up that, and bear with me. So we've got a question for Mark, and I think it's a really good one, which is, you know, the workflow for onboarding. He's saying, you know, is that totally automated, or should there be some human intervention? And I think, like all of the best kind of marketing, there's an automated element and a human element. Would you agree with that, Brad?
Yeah, all of the automation would have that human element to it. So the automation will set up a task and remind the human, because as a human we are not perfect, we're forgetful, and make sure that they complete, and it puts that priority. So as I mentioned, one person can do that thing for the second person. So your practice manager needs to send the engagement letter before you can do the second part. So when they complete that, then you receive the task. So that priority of the task is important, and remind them that they have to do the task. And then obviously in the middle, those emails and videos and everything, training, all of that can be automated and sent to the client.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, thanks for that question, Mark. Another quick question that I wanted to ask, because we get asked this a fair bit, is are there any marketing tools that use AI that you know about? It's this big talk in the industry, isn't it, of AI? And I think I've seen some tools claiming to have AI. My personal view is that not at any cost that most people can afford, it doesn't really work. So I guess it ties into the last one. I still believe there's got to be a human element. What do you think, Brad?
I've always been, everywhere I speak to anybody, they say, okay, robots going to take the jobs of accountant, which is totally true. But if you look at it, it's just the robots or AI or automation or whatever you want to call it. All of these is just to give you more time to spend more time. That human connection, it's the important part. So if you can automate those tasks that is repeating, and you don't need to pay somebody or do it yourself, and save time, and then you would have more time to call, hey, Johnny, how's it going? And we know people are stressed, business owners are stressed in this time after COVID and all that. And it's very interesting that when you dig in deep to these things, it's got lots of other reasons. So they might getting divorced and the cash flow is low, or, they have problems with the staff. And, if you don't talk to them, you wouldn't know how to fix the problems that they have.
Cool. No, I agree with that. At the end of the day, people buy from people, always will do. And I think that's a good thing. Well, we're up to the hour now, so let's wrap things up there. That just leaves me to say thanks very much, Brad, for coming along today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And if you want to talk to Brad about Markezing and what he's doing there to help accountants with automation and inbound marketing, his details are there, and we'll be sending out a follow-up email. And that will have our contact details in as well. There'll be a little survey as the webinar closes, just so you can rate the webinar and see if you want us to get in touch with you. So if you don't want to bother reaching out, we can do that. You just tick the box and we'll be in touch. And that just leaves me to say, finally, thank you to you all for coming along today. I hope you found that useful. So if you could just type in the box at the end, the chat box. So did we meet our goal? Did you feel there was something in there, an automation that you could take away and do this week? I would love to know that. If you just type yes or no into the chat, that would be cool for me to know that. I want to make sure we're on the right line. So getting a few yeses, that's good to know. Very good. If you have any more questions, if we weren't clear on anything, because we've covered obviously quite a wide range of stuff there, then feel free to reach out. And I really mean that. I think people think, they're just saying that. It's not going to be a sales call or whatever. If you want anything clarified, the details are there on screen. We will follow up with you. So please do that. Cool. Yeah, we got lots of yeses there, no no's. So I'm going to take that as a win. We met our goal. So thank you, Brad, and thank you to everyone for coming today. Let's leave it there and have a great rest of the day.
Lovely. Thank you all. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.